The Tales series is a pretty big one, having already released 16 games. Now Bandai is back with their newest 17th entry into the series, Tales of Arise. I remember seeing the trailer a couple of years ago for this one. There was that blue knight with the flaming sword, and I was very interested by that. But I didn't actually know anything about Tales at the time, and what this game even means for the series. I just know that it looked kind of cool. So after getting our hands on the demo, that should be out at the time of this video release actually, I finally have an idea of what this game is and, well, what my first impressions are. So hi guys, welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow, and this is my first impressions and thoughts on Tales of Arise. This party-style RPG is set in a colourful world that seems to be overshadowed by a serious story and somewhat brutal setting. We explore large areas filled with enemies to fight, items to find, you got life skill style professions to manage, and then follow that main story. Off the bat, I thought this game was visually very impressive. Apparently the 5-year gap since the last one paid off, since Arise has much better production and visual quality compared to the previous Tales games. The combat is very fast paced with a lot of magic abilities and weapon arts, and since you're working as part of a 6-man squad, there is a lot of differences between the characters you actually play as, or even have them support you with their powers. From what I looked at from the previous games, there are some serious changes here. It feels like Tales of Arise is a big update and maybe even overhaul for the series. It's like Bandai want Arise to be maybe the breakout game for Tales. There's a lot to talk about and explain, give my thoughts on, so let's get to it. The story itself is totally new. It has nothing to do with any of the previous games, as a hopefully ideal way to introduce new people to the series. Essentially though, you've got two worlds that collided in war, and one of them won and ended up ruling over the other. Renner, that winning world, pillaged Dana for its resources and essentially enslaved its people. 300 years into all of that, our story starts. And we're following these two main characters, Shinon and Alphen. Alphen is from the enslaved world while Shinon comes from the oppressors. Alphen's lost his memories and he wears that cool face mask, while Shinon is apparently cursed and causes pain to anyone who touches her. Luckily and conveniently, our main character Alphen can't feel pain, so that's so useful. Through some event we don't see in the demo, they end up finding each other and traveling together. And while Alphen wants to free his people, Shinon just wants to end her curse, understandably. It's a neat setup. You got two characters who are pretty interesting separately, but combined match well, especially mechanically when it comes to combat, but we'll get to that. Through the demo and gameplay we've seen in the trailers, it seems like we're playing in the Dana world, the subjugated world. The demo has us playing in LD Menancia, which is a lush and green place, but from the trailers, we know we're also going to harsher places like cold winterlands or barren hot deserts, which make a bit more sense for a world that's supposedly been pillaged. I do wonder if maybe we'll see the other world, Renner, if that'll be like a storyline that happens or in a future game. Either way, each region has its own people and stories, and that's where we're going to meet the other characters who end up joining us. A total of 4 characters join us and actually help us in combat, even being playable with their own abilities and playstyles. There's Rinwell, an astral art mage, Lore, a CQC fighter, Kisara, a sort of paladin with a mason shield, and lastly Dohalim, a Renner noble who uses a sort of rod stick. In the demo, we're far enough into the game to have all 6 members in the party and ready to play, and they've got all of their basic abilities unlocked. But now let's talk about combat, the visually impressive and very fast-paced thing that it is. As I said, we can play any of the 6 characters and they all have their own abilities to use. Generally though, the goal is going to be combo your normal attacks into long combo strings, juggling the enemy and hopefully crushing them. Each character has their own weapon and combat style, so while Alphen fights up close with his 2 swords, Shinon for example will be fighting exclusively at range with her magical rifle. Each character gets 6 abilities though, 3 to use when you're on the ground and 3 when you're in the air, which are all enhanced in different ways depending on who you're playing. For example, Alphen can trade health for various fire sword attacks, which are very powerful. Shinon can charge up her bombs and then blast them for greater effect, or Rinwell, the mage, can shoot her spells out instantly or choose to charge them up for more power. No matter who you're playing, you've got boost strikes and attacks, these double attacks where you use an ally and your own attacks at once, or you just use the power of an ally to benefit you directly. Finally, those mystic arts are basically mini cutscene attacks with flashy animations, huge damage, and often will completely finish off an enemy. So it's super fast-paced combat with flashy animations, we're dodging around, we're comboing attacks, we're weaving in abilities and party boosts, trying to absolutely destroy an enemy as cleanly as possible. Enemies have different weak points to focus, you got different attacks that'll stun enemies. There seems to be a good skill cap to the game, but it is punishing if you do get hit or make mistakes constantly, and your party members will go down if you're not careful. Overall, I did enjoy myself playing, But there is one really annoying detail. Your characters just don't ever shut up, I swear. They're constantly calling out their special ability names, and you're always using those.
Not today!
Hopefully we can turn that down or off completely though. I know it's a bit of a classic JRPG thing, but it's definitely something I find annoying. As far as swapping characters works though, I don't know. In the demo we had to pick our main character to play and then explore as. We couldn't really swap during gameplay. So maybe it'll work differently in the full game. Now let's move on to general details of the game that we can see from the demo. Firstly, skits are a returning feature to the series apparently. It used to be these little character sprites that would talk in a chat box with no real animation or visual flair, but in a things are clearly higher production since they're actually using the models of the character to have actual interactions. They also make use of this clever comic book style progression of a conversation. So compared to what it was, this seems like a huge step up for the series and I'm glad to see it. In a way, it reminds me of the way Scarlet Nexus chose to do it, but a bit better, less awkward and kind of stunted. Another feature from the Tales series are titles. They're literally titles you equip to a character, like maybe an accessory, and it provides stats. But now, apparently, that's tied to a talent tree system. So depending on which title you have, you should see different talents you can unlock. So this is where we end up spending our skill points and unlock new nodes in the titles to unlock new skills, arts, and stats. It's a pretty weird way to do a skill tree, but hey, I guess it's kind of interesting. But I don't know how you unlock titles. Are they just given to you as you progress the story, or do you unlock them through in-game challenges maybe? Either way, lifestyle skills are another classic RPG element that we can find in Arise. Things like fishing and farming exist, but the only one I saw in the demo was cooking, choosing what food to make at a campfire for a temporary buff. I had the option of 4 meals at the time, things like attack up, magic up, defense up, and so on. Each meal will be cooked by a different person, and there are even little skits in some cases.
This is great. The taste and aroma will blow everyone away.
Hey, what's the smoke? Is it an enemy attack?
Try not to breathe it in as much as you can manage.
Gas? Those cowards!
Isn't this just cooking smoke?
What kind of food makes your throat burn so bad just from the smoke?
All right. Now I just flip it over and then...
As I said though, this is just from the demo that you guys should now have access to. I was playing this on the PlayStation 5. It's a pretty short demo, letting you explore a few areas and see some of the game's main mechanics, like, you know, the combat. And I definitely like that more games are giving us a chance to try the game and feel out if, hey, do we even like this, without having to pay the pretty hefty prices these days. It's a quick one though, without too much to explore. Ultimately, we head to the town, but are asked to defeat a sort of mantis monster, and as soon as you do that, the demo basically ends. So before that, we can go around fighting regular enemies, the strong as hell rare boar guy, the boss of the demo, alongside side stuff like gathering and character interaction. I think it's a good demo though, giving you a way to experience the main vibe of the game for free. As far as the main game goes though, they say it should last about the same length as the previous Tales game, which was roughly 40 plus hours for the main story and over 60 if you're doing all the side content. The release of the game is set for September 10th, and it's coming out on a lot of platforms, more than it actually originally planned to. Coming to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. But there you have it. Those are my first impressions with this early hands-on with the demo. Thanks again to Bandai for letting us jump into that a little bit early. And obviously some extra details that I did some research to find out. Like I said at the start though, I had no clue what this game was from when I actually saw the trailer in E3 a few years ago. It's been nice finally learning more about it and actually playing it. To me, it feels like a solid JRPG with that nice fast-paced combat and awesome visuals, and they clearly want you to get to know the characters and world and care about them as you sort of follow their various stories. If there's any Tales fans watching this, how does it compare to the previous games, do you think? Obviously, I know the production quality's gone up, but what about the combat? Has that changed in any way? Let me know your thoughts either way, and drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.